Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keenan Chatar, and today I'll be presenting on the work that I did at NASA, which was very amazing. So the project that I was building was titled the Portable Data Capture System for the Triboelectric Nanogenerator, where I was working at the Center for Nanotechnology. Now, there are a lot of words that we didn't understand there, Triboelectric Nanogenerator, and we'll just go through the different meanings behind them and what they can do for Trinidad and Tobago. So, for a brief overview of the content, we'll go over introduction of the nanogenerator, the project objectives, the design and methodology that I developed, some of the results that I had, and potential further work that we may go through. So, energy is around us in the environment everywhere. And there are different forms of energy in terms of like wind energy, ocean energy, and so on. However, energy is wasted sometimes in different processes. So think about, say, your car driving along the road. Energy is wasted in friction, noise, and so on. As you're walking, energy is wasted as you make footsteps with the ground and friction and so on. So there are different methods of technology for harvesting that energy and putting it towards better use. So energy harvesting is very important because we can convert that energy into useful energy, say for different sensors on your body, heartbeat sensors, and so on. We can actually use electricity from that to monitor your bodily characteristics. We can use for wearable devices, harvest energy as you're moving about, or as you're moving about and walking. You can be able to charge your phone, you may be able to charge a wearable device, and so on. Or in actual display and smart devices, say in power plants, energy wasted from gears grinding over each other and friction and so on. It could be used in different manners. So therefore, this field of energy harvesting is very fruitful. So next we'll go over triboelectricity and what it is exactly. So the two main principles for the nanogenerator is based on the triboelectric effect and electrostatic induction, both of which you're probably not exactly sure about. So we'll go over this first example here is a common physics example where when you rub two materials on each other, they generate a triboelectric effect in which energy charges transfer from one material to the other. Simple as that. Another example you can probably understand better is, say, for this kitty cat here. If it jumps into a box of styrofoam plastic, as it moves about, the fur will come into contact with different foam pieces and just generate charges. As it moves about and generates a triboelectric effect, it will also induce electrostatic charges in the plastic material and thus cause the styrofoam to cling towards the cat as it moves about. Similar to if you have a balloon and you rub it on your hair, it will cause a triboelectric effect, which is charges moving from your hair to the balloon, and then electrostatic induction, which causes it to stick to your body. Those two principles are the key ones to keep in mind. So triboelectricity, while useful, is also quite dangerous because it's very easy for static electricity to build up to high voltages and thus cause breakdown of electronics or even fire hazards and so on. So while it is an excellent source of energy, safety must be kept in mind. Okay. So we'll go over the operating steps of the actual triboelectric device. So the first stage is triboelectric charging. And this is where, as I said, the materials would rub to each other, and on the dielectric, different charges would be formed. So there's a chart called the order of electrification, which gives an idea of which materials cause different charges to each other. So a very positive material plus a very negative material equals very strong electricity. So here we can see a different gradation of the types of materials. Down here we have PTFE or Teflon, and up here we have aluminum and so on. So different materials together would form better charges. And the second step is the step of electrostatic induction, where we have, say, three pieces, the top electrode, the dielectric, and the bottom electrode. When the top electrode comes into contact with the dielectric, charges are formed between the boundaries, right? So that, however, when we move the top plate from into contact with the dielectric, charges flow from from this direction here, and thus a current goes in this direction. So, and then when the electrode is brought back into contact with the dielectric, charges flow in the opposite direction, and thus a current forms in the other direction. Thus, the generator is known as being an alternating current source. So this is the different types of modes, the contact separation mode and the sliding mode. In the sliding mode, similar process as the top electrode slides in contact with the dielectric, charges flow, and thus the current flows in this direction. And then similarly, when it comes fully into contact, current flows in the opposite direction. Now, so this technology has a variety of uses and variety of applications. Because of its nature, it can be applied in different manners. So we have different structural variations that can be applied. So we have here an impact-based TENG or Triboelectric Nanogenerator, where as the material comes into contact and then releases, so on and so over and over, it generates a charge. So a potential application of this could be in the sole of your shoe. As you walk around, it will cause impacts and thus generate charges. Another one is a vibration-based TENG, where as you shake the material back and forth, the block inside of this material moves back and forth between the two electrodes, and thus that's another application. Say you could put that in a vibrating motor or jackhammer, anything. Wind applications, water flow applications, sound applications, water drop applications. You can see, as you can see, this technology can be used almost anywhere. It's just limited only to the mind. So the advantages of the TENG are that the output power per area per mass is quite large. The actual cost of the materials are quite low. We're using plastics and metals. So it can be easily fabricated and so on. It's very lightweight compared to most energy harvesting methods where you have motors and generators tuning onto each other and metals. It's very heavy. So this lightweight method can be used in a variety of applications. As we saw with the structural variations, the design flexibility is immense. It can be used almost anywhere. And the technical readiness. So this technology is relatively new. It was created in around 2012, and thus there's a wide area of knowledge to be gained. So different research can be conducted into it and different applications uncovered. So now that we have an understanding of what the TENG is, we'll go over my project objectives, what I was required to build, and how to assist the project. So currently here we can see the actual desktop equipment that they use to measure. This is the TENG, this material here is the TENG, and this is just simply a motor to rotate the TENG. And this is the equipment that they use to measure it. As you can see, it's quite large and quite expensive and heavy. Thus, it's not easy to perform experiments with this sort of equipment outdoors, outside of a lab. So we have all these different applications for a TENG, but we have no way of measuring exactly how well the TENG operates outside of a lab. So they basically asked me to reduce the size of this measurement equipment, more or less, to build something that does a similar requirements, so record voltage and record the actual data, but make it much smaller, much more lightweight and portable. So the first stage was to design and implement a conditioning circuit, to implement a standalone portable data acquisition and storage system, and perform a full-scale outdoor experiment. So this is the design methodology I developed. This is the circuit diagram that I developed. This is the modeling of the first stage was to model the actual characteristics of the TENG. So it's made as a current source with a parasitic capacitance and a parasitic resistance. Just meaning, these are just characteristics of the TENG itself, so that it'll be easy to put on a circuit board. And next, as I said before, that the current output of the TENG is a current source, AC current source, or alternating current, means it goes one direction and back and forth, back and forth. You can't exactly, you have many applications for that, as your common electronics, they run on DC current, one direction. So we would want to convert the output of the TENG into a DC source using a full bridge rectifier, and that's just a little diamond of diodes here. And this capacitor here is just basically a rectifier capacitor to smooth out the output. And this capacitor is a filter capacitor to remove noise. And after that, after we have the energy from the TENG, we would want to store it into some form or nature. Now that's a different area of research in all of itself, because the TENG output is quite large, and it's very good at producing high voltages but very low current, and that's not very useful for most DC powered sources. Thus, we need to figure out a way to store the energy from the TENG itself. So in this case, I decided to store the energy of the TENG in a capacitor. so which is used here. And then, yes. Okay. So this is just a visualization of the actual circuitry that I built. We're using an Arduino Mega 256, battery source, LCD screen, and two different Arduino components. One is an SD card slot, and one is a DS3231 clock module, basically to record date and time. And this is to record the actual voltage values of the thing itself. So basically, we'll just be measuring the data from the thing, storing it. So yeah, storing it into during the experiment, and then after the experiment, we could come back, take the SD card out, and then make measurements and inferences from the data. And here we can see this is the circuit that I built here, the actual thing itself here, the measurement and display system here, or you can see it here, showing the voltage and the energy output, and the rectifier circuit and the power supply. So this is just the circuit board version of it. And this was prototype 1, more or less. This isn't very capable of going outdoors. We can see that the accuracy is fairly okay. The sample rate is quick, and the battery life is also okay for an outdoor experiment. However, these were all based more so on the actual Arduino that was implemented. And here we can see some of the results that were obtained from the actual experiment, a demonstration experiment, where the thing was made to rotate, and then results were recorded on the SD card, and then the SD card placed into our computer and graphed out. So you can see here that the measurement readings were also stored into a text file format, which makes it easy for taking out the data, maybe even being used for machine learning applications, because lots of data is being recorded here, and different applications can be implemented onto it. So here we can see, as the thing is rotating at 50 RPM, the capacitor is charging fairly slowly, and then it discharges. But then as we change the RPM to around 100, so the thing is charging faster, more or less, producing more energy, we can see that the capacitor charges twice as fast, more or less. And then as we increase the RPM a bit more, we can see that the tank charges much faster. So this is a coefficient of voltage over time. So we can see that the inferences can be made of the tank as it performs in an experiment. So let's say that a tank was in a wind energy application, and we sent it up into a weather balloon. We'd be able to see exactly how well that the tank was performing in high altitude conditions based on this information. Video, okay. Yeah, so this is a video of the tank rotating here, and this is the circuit that I built as well for this. You can see that the voltage is increasing, and that the energy is increasing as well. And this is another model of the tank that was built, where as it vibrates back and forth, it generates more and more energy. So we can see that my system that I built was working as intended. I've 3D printed a plastic enclosure around it so as to make it more secure to the environment. We can see this is the actual the measurements that were stored from this experiment here. We can see that as the thing is rotating, it's charging and discharging the capacitor very quickly. So basically, we can infer that that it's working very well. And here, with the thing vibration, as it's moving back and forth, you can see that it's charging capacitor much slower as compared. So let's say that in this experiment, it wasn't suitable for this nature. It needs to be placed in a different experiment. Right. So the results that were produced there, those were prototype 1, and this is prototype 2. The final results that I had after the internship was completed, I was able to reduce the size of the actual device that I built to a much more reduced, compact nature. I was actually able to bring down the device with me. So this is the actual size of the device, and yeah, so I'm able to carry it now and conduct experiments with it. So yeah, this is the final version of the actual device. Now, for further work, I was actually granted the opportunity to continue the work that I did up at NASA and bring it down with me here. So I'm currently studying for my master's in electrical and computer engineering, and I'll be conducting my final year project this year. So the work that I was doing up there, I'm now able to continue that work and implement it in some form or nature as a master's proposal and build upon it. So the project proposal idea that I have is a wind energy harvesting device using the Triboelectric Nanogenerator. This is just a simple concept art of what I have in mind, using a Savonius wind turbine that will rotate in the wind and connected at the base to the 10 components. I was actually able to bring down some of the components with me in my suitcase, which was very scary because if I broke the components, I'd be in trouble. Yeah, so these are the components of the tank. This is the top material made out of Teflon, 3D printed. And these are the bottom electrodes that were shipped, that were also 3D cut out of aluminum. So I guess I can pass them around, but you can just be very careful with them. But yeah, so these components, they're very, I'm basically will be able to build upon these and hopefully create a device that could be used here in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's say that, we have an issue right now in Petrotrin where the refinery is closed, and thus we're having, as an energy-based country, we may have to divert from energy nature to more green energy in terms of wind energy harvesting. Maybe I can possibly build this device to be used along the coastlines of Manzanilla and hopefully collect energy there. So there are very different applications that could be used, and I'm hoping that that this would be beneficial to everyone. Like maybe even projects could be spun out of this. Like if anyone's interested, they can probably contact me and we can see that more could be developed from this. So I'm actually very happy that I was able to continue the work that I did here at NASA, and I'm now able to move forward with it down here in Trinidad and Tobago. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions.